COVID-19 vaccines are a key component in the world's fight against coronavirus. Various pharmaceutical companies have developed vaccines to save lives, but the results have varied. Here is a list of vaccines that are most used in the world along with the number of countries that are importing them. The figures are according to a New York Times report. Number 9, Bharat Biotech. Type: inactivated SARS-CoV-2 virus using whole virion inactivated Verocell platform technology. Doses: 2, 28 days apart. Likely EUA date: not applicable in the US. Price: $150 or about $2 US, although that appears to be the low end of the open market price in India. Efficacy: 100% against severe infection, 78% against mild, moderate, and severe, 70% against asymptomatic. Variants: wild type, can neutralize UK variant. On April 22, 2021, India's Bharat Biotech reported interim data from the Phase 3 trial of its COVID-19 vaccine Contaxin, which demonstrated a 100% efficacy against severe infection. The vaccine was developed with seed strains from the Indian Council of Medical Research's, ICMR, National Institute of Virology. It is a highly purified and inactivated vaccine. A second interim analysis suggested a 78% efficacy against mild, moderate, and severe disease, and 70% efficacy against asymptomatic disease. Does not require sub-zero storage, no reconstitution requirement, and ready-to-use liquid in multi-dose vials, stable at 2 to 8 degrees C. Number 8, CanSino Biologics. Type: viral vector, loading an antigen from the SARS-CoV-2 virus onto an adenovirus. Doses: 1. Price: unknown. Likely EUA date: not applicable in the US. Efficacy: 65.7% at preventing symptomatic cases, 90.98% efficacy in preventing severe disease. Variants: unknown. CanSino Biologics vaccine was co-developed with the Chinese military. It has an efficacy rate of 65.7% at preventing symptomatic cases. This is based on a multi-country analysis first posted on Twitter by Faisal Sultan, Pakistan's health advisor, on February 8, 2021. The Phase 3 trial includes 30,000 participants and demonstrated 90.98% efficacy in preventing severe disease. It only requires a single shot. It has agreed to supply 35 million doses to Mexico and is in talks with Malaysia for 3.5 million shots. Pakistan is running one of the largest trials, and has contracted for 20 million shots. Number 7, Novavax. Type: protein-based vaccine. Doses: 2. Likely EUA date: possibly in March or February 2021 in the UK, possibly Q1 2021 or later in the US. Most recent suggestion for EUA in the US was May 2021. Price: $16 in the US. Efficacy: 89.3%. Variants: effective against UK and South African. On January 28, 2021, Novavax announced that its COVID-19 vaccine, NVX-CoV2373, hit the primary endpoint with a vaccine efficacy of 89.3% in its Phase 3 trial in the UK. The vaccine is a protein-based COVID-19 vaccine candidate. It also has data from the South Africa Phase IIB trial and several Phase I, II and III trials. It has demonstrated high clinical efficacy against the UK and South Africa variants as well. Number 6, Synovac Biotech. Type: inactivated SARS-CoV-2 virus. Doses: 2. Likely EUA date: not applicable in the US. Price: $60 per dose in China, $29.75 per dose. Efficacy: 50.38% to 91.25%, depending on the clinical trial. Variants: unknown, although a study in Brazil demonstrated 50.4% efficacy at preventing symptomatic infections. On January 13, 2021, China-based Sinovac Biotech reported that its COVID-19 vaccine had a 50.38% efficacy in late-stage clinical trials in Brazil. The company's clinical trials are demonstrating dramatically varying efficacy rates. In Indonesia, a local trial demonstrated an efficacy rate of 65%, but the trial had only 1,620 participants. Turkey reported an efficacy rate of 91.25% in December 2020. Another trial in Brazil run by a local partner, Butantan Institute, reported last week a 78% efficacy rate in mild cases while 100% against severe and moderate infections. It is an inactivated vaccine that uses inactivated SARS-CoV-2 viruses. Number 5. Russia's Sputnik V vaccine. Type: adenovirus-based. Doses: 2. Likely EUA date: not applicable in the US. Price: $10 per dose. Efficacy: 91.4%. Variants: unknown. Clinical trial data was largely conducted in Russia prior to the emergence of major variants. Around November 11, Russia's National Research Center for Epidemiology and Microbiology, which Russia authorized for use in August ahead of even beginning a Phase 3 trial, claimed had an efficacy rate of 92% after the second dose. It was based on a first interim analysis 21 days after the first injection during the ongoing Phase 3 study. On November 24, the organization claimed 95% efficacy based on new preliminary data. On December 14, 2020, they reported efficacy of 91.4%. It also offered to share one of its 2 human adenoviral vectors with AstraZeneca to increase the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine. On February 2, 2021, The Lancet published Phase 3 data demonstrating a 91.6% efficacy against the original strain of the virus. Number 4. Johnson & Johnson. Type: adenovirus-based. Doses: 1. Authorized. Price: $10 per dose. Efficacy: in J&J's global clinical trial, it demonstrated 66% efficacy at preventing symptomatic COVID-19 infections. In the US it was slightly higher, 72%. Appears to be 100% effective at preventing hospitalizations and death. Variants: based on clinical studies in Africa, UK, and Latin America, there is evidence the vaccine is effective against the variants, although less so against the South African and Latin American strains. Johnson & Johnson announced on November 15 that it initiated a second global Phase 3 trial of its Janssen COVID-19 vaccine. They expect to enroll up to 60,000 volunteers worldwide. Whereas all of the other 3 vaccine candidates require 2 doses about 28 days apart, the J&J vaccine only requires a single dose. Interim results from its Phase I/IIA trial demonstrated a single dose of the vaccine induced a robust immune response and was generally well tolerated. The Ensemble 2 study evaluated a 2-dose regimen as well. Number 3. AstraZeneca-University of Oxford. Type: adenovirus-based. Doses: 2, 28 days apart. Likely EUA date: authorized in Europe on January 12, 2021, and other countries, but unlikely in the US until spring. Price: $2.15 US, in the EU, $3 to $4 US, in the UK and US, $5.25 US, in South Africa. Efficacy: currently about 70% overall. Variants: at least one study finds it has little effect against the South African variant, but appears effective against UK and Brazilian variants. On November 23, AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford announced high-level results from an interim analysis of their COVID-19 vaccine, AZD1222. The analysis was from the trials in the UK and Brazil and demonstrated efficacy of up to 90%. The vaccine was effective at preventing COVID-19, with no hospitalizations or severe cases in people receiving it. There were a total of 131 COVID-19 positive cases in the interim analysis group. One dosing regimen was given at a half dose and demonstrated 90% efficacy, followed by a full dose at least 1 month apart. Another dosing regimen demonstrated 62% efficacy when given 2 full doses at least 1 month apart. Number 2, Moderna. Type: mRNA. Doses: 2, 28 days apart. EUA date: December 18, 2020. Price: $25 to $37 per dose. Efficacy: about 95%. Apparently 100% at preventing hospitalization and death. Variants: lab data suggest quite effective against the UK variant as well as the South African and Latin American variants. On November 16, Moderna issued a preliminary data readout out of its COVID-19 vaccine, suggesting an efficacy rate of 94.5%. It was authorized by the FDA on December 19. Like the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, it is an mRNA vaccine. Unlike that vaccine, however, the Moderna vaccine is stable at 36 to 46 degrees F, about the temperature of a standard home or medical refrigerator, for up to 30 days and can be stored for up to 6 months at -4 degrees F. It is expected to go to the FDA for consideration for an EUA within days. Number 1, Pfizer-BioNTech. Type: mRNA. Doses: 2, 21 days apart. EUA date: December 11, 2020. Price: $19.50 per dose for first 100 million doses. Efficacy: about 95%. Apparently 100% at preventing hospitalization and death. Variants: lab data suggest quite effective against the UK variant as well as the South African and Latin American variants. The Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine was sent to the FDA for possible emergency use authorization, EUA, on Friday, November 20, and authorized on December 11. It is an mRNA vaccine that codes for the virus's spike protein and is encapsulated in a lipid nanoparticle. Once injected, the cells churn out the spike protein, triggering the body's immune system to recognize the virus. In Phase 3 trials, it demonstrated 95% efficacy. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine requires storage at about -94 degrees F, which requires specialized freezers.